Well, good morning, Tony Virtue speaking, and welcome to our regular newsletter. Some short-term improvements on the markets. It's still pretty volatile out there. Probably the most useful thing to realise is that $22 billion of dividends have been paid out to shareholders. Much of that is fully franked, so that's probably worth about 100 basis points on the market. So some activity going on there. The end game, I think, at the moment is resolving US interest rates and where that goes going forward. So in my mind, the sooner the better. A little bit of difficulty here at the moment, particularly with the banks looking to, or one bank particularly, lifting interest rates. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But I wouldn't see things as particularly expensive or particularly cheap at the moment, but a fairly tough market to operate in. I thought I might comment on some more interesting data at the moment. One is the happiness countries in the world. They have a happiness index every year which grades how we see the world compared to other countries. Australia used to be first, and as you can see, we've slipped well down the ladder now to 11th, 12th, and even the Kiwis are doing better than us. So the question is, why is it when we have so much opportunity in Australia, are we apparently not feeling so happy? Well, I think five PMs in 5 years doesn't help, but possibly a sense of uncertainty. And if you look at the countries who are above us, particularly in the Nordic countries there, probably a sense of being more content with what they have. So that's something really to focus on is what gives us happiness? Can we live with the challenges that we have day to day? And I thought also to give us some context, the poverty index is also there, showing that 10% of the population globally now are still below the poverty level, but a real improvement since I wrote my book some 10 years ago. So the poverty index now $1.75 a day, and about 10% of the world living below that. But as you travel, particularly in the Asian region where they're doing quite a lot better, you really do notice how people with very little seem to be able to be relatively happy with their lives. So maybe money isn't everything. Finally, we couldn't complete the newsletter without a Sydney property view. Look, it is pretty heated out there, as you can see. Two very clear markets, the owner-occupier market, where fundamentally your home is exempt from tax if you live there. It's also exempt currently from the asset test for Centrelink if you retire. So that's a pretty compelling argument. The investment market's somewhat different, so think hard about that. Compare that with investments on the stock market that specialise in property. There's plenty of alternatives there, and we can offer some options in those areas. So I think that's enough for today. Let's have some good investing and maybe a Santa rally up to Christmas. Goodbye from me, Tony Virtue.